I hear the
Today is October 22nd, and this is the investment meeting of the New York City Employees Retirement System. We're here at 335 Adams Street in Suite 2200. And Madam Executive Director, if you would please call the roll of trustees.
Chair.
Here.
Controller's Office.
Here.
Public Advocate's Office.
Present.
Borough President Manhattan.
Here.
Borough President Brooklyn.
Here.
Borough President Queens.
Here.
Borough President Staten Island. Borough President Bronx.
Here.
International Brotherhood of Teamsters.
Here.
Transport Workers Union.
Here.
District Council 37.
Here.
That form.
Thank you. Before we get started, are there any changes or additions to the agenda today? I think we have one reorder in the executive session. We are just going to, item number 3 will become item number 2, if that pleases the board. Are there any other additional changes or amendments to the agenda?
We have none, Madam Chair.
Okay. I think I would like to add one initial item at the front part of the public session today. And just say on behalf of Mayor Bloomberg and Deputy Mayor Bob Steele that we would like to thank Larry Schloss for his dedicated service to the plan participants and to the board. We'd like to thank him for being an exemplary leader of BAM and for mentoring and supporting his staff over the years that he's been here, for educating his fellow trustees about how to make a good thing better, and for not being afraid to try for change in the face of opposition. And as a board, we don't always agree on everything, but I think that we can all agree that Larry made a very real, positive, and valuable contribution during his time here. So I just wanted to say thank you to Larry.
Certainly convey those wishes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
In addition, I'll have to encourage him to watch the webcast.
If he ever has insomnia.
Will that bring our viewership to 1?
All right, so Thad and Seema, I'll turn it over to you.
So the first item we have is the August monthly, and I'll turn that over to Seema.
So we'll go through August. I'll try to go through that more quickly. It was a down month. Not a lot to say other than it was a down month, and we'll go through that. But I thought we'd start with a bit of an update on what's been going on this past month. A lot, as you know, have been in the news about the possible government shutdown, which actually did happen for 16 days, by the way, shaving off about $24 billion off of our economy, shaving off a bit to GDP in the fourth quarter. And then we had this whole debt ceiling issue that the October 17th deadline had come, and there was a deal done. But the back and forth in negotiations in D.C. created a lot of uncertainty in the stock market, for sure. And so around that, we had done a little bit of rebalancing. So we think we managed well through this period. The stock market has since rallied once the debt ceiling was raised, but unfortunately it's only raised for a short-term time. So we have until about early next year, so the negotiations will continue. So we would expect it to be continually rocky, but we're on top of our managers and we continue to keep track of what's going on. So I would just ask you to turn to page 34 in your monthly color book. So this is the month of August, and as you can see, the U.S. stock market is measured by the Russell 3000, down about 3%. The IFA markets down a little over 1%, emerging markets down close to 2%. The treasuries down about 1%, the high yield index about 60 basis points, and tips down over 1%. So not a great month, but we'll quickly then turn to page 35, which shows the September numbers in quite a dramatic turn. So again, if you scroll down that trailing 1 month column, up about 4%, Russell 3 in the U.S., IFA up about 7%, emerging markets close to 7%. Treasuries up over 1%. You had high yield up 1%. And you had tips back up over 1%. So a good month there. I'll just give you a highlight through October. Month to date, as of October 18th, the Russell 3000 is up close to 4%. The IFA markets are up 3.5%. The emerging markets are up over 5%. Treasuries are up almost 1%. High yields up close to 2%. And tips up a little, close to 50 basis points. So September was a good month. If you then October was a good month. turn to page 30, go a little back a couple pages. This is kind of how we're set up. It's our asset allocation. You can see we still show here in the green bar being overweight U.S. equities, but as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we've been selling down U.S. equities, selling down high yield, adding a little bit to emerging market equities, plus paying benefits. So as a result of a lot of that, our cash figure, which you see here in gray, says about $700 million. We're now closer to $300 million. So we've been working down that cash, which is a good thing as well. So if you then turn to page 36, we'll see how that shapes up for us on the month to date and then the fiscal year to date. And the contribution to return in the month being negative, most of that coming from U.S. equities. But if you look in the fiscal year to date, we're up about 1.5%. That's through August. But again, if you add back in September, which was a strong month, up about 3% across the board, and you add back what we're doing now through October 18th, which again is up about 3%. Actually, fiscal year to date, we think the NYCERS number is closer to being up 7.5%. So that's a very, very good number. If you then look at page 27, this shows the last 12 months market value. So over this 12-month period, NYCERS was up about $4 billion. It's a very good contribution there. And again, if you account for what's happened in September and October, that number is now over $49 billion, so nearly $50 billion for the NYCERS portfolio through October 18th. So that's a very good number. The next page, 28, shows the 10-year returns, 10-year market values. So the 10-year return as of August 31st is over 7%. That's a little better now. And again, if you just look at the numbers of $47 billion, it's the highest that NYCERS has been, and now you're close to nearly $50 billion, which is great. So if there aren't any questions, I'll turn it back to Thad for the next agenda item.
Seeing no questions, item number 2 is a resolution offered by the mayor's office, so I'll turn it to the chair.
Thank you very much. So if you would please turn to page 62 in your books. You will see the resolution that we provided to you during the executive session of last month's meeting. And it was after a thorough discussion about BAM's process with regard to monitoring of manager pay-to-play issues that we presented this resolution. And while we think that BAM is doing a very good job of monitoring, we think that good things can always be improved upon. So what we are looking for is just a bit of an additional heads up to the board so that when investment recommendations are provided by BAM, that there be a line item that discusses whether or not there are any pay-to-play issues with the particular manager that's being recommended, as well as we think it's prudent to monitor all managers, all existing managers of the board on an ongoing basis. And so we've presented this resolution for your consideration. And I'd just like to say, as I mentioned in the executive session last month, for the record, that pay-to-play rules are important because they promote the integrity of public pension plans' investment decision-making, and because plans may be entitled to fee waivers if managers' contributions exceed legal limits. We believe that manager compliance with these rules is an important issue for the board, and as trustees, we would like to be informed of whether or not a manager is in compliance prior to voting on whether to engage them. We also believe that existing managers' compliance with these rules should be monitored so that any non-compliance is then brought to the board's attention and the board can seek legal advice or take other appropriate action. So to reaffirm the board's commitment to a strong compliance process, I move the resolution before you. Do we have a second? If there is no second, then the resolution does not move forward. Thank you. I believe that is the last item on the public session. Do we have anything else to cover, Thad?
Controller's Office has nothing further for the public agenda today.
Okay. Do you have a motion to exit the public session and enter executive session? Okay, do we have a second? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. So we'll